Welcome in. Happy Wednesday. This is the Everything Buckeye Nation show. I'm your host, Jake Smith. With me, as always, Corey W. Boyd. It is Wednesday, the 6th of November. We're finally into some November football, and the first playoff rankings were released. I want to hear what you think about them. Appreciate everybody in the comments already. But first, Corey, what's happening, man? We had a bye week last week. I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, man, same old, work, repeat, work, watch Buckeyes not this week and watch my Browns suck, but we'll not get into that today. It's all about Ohio State. It's all about being on top and looking below everyone else, either cry about it or do what they have to do, but it feels good to be back. How about you, brother?
I feel good, man. I feel good. Got a little promotion at the old 9 to 5, so that's always good. A little pay raise coming my way. Other than that, just waiting, man. Waiting for this Buckeye team to play again. Felt like we really hit a stride against Wisconsin. Really had some momentum going. And then a bye week kind of takes a little bit of that away. But after a big-time slugfest against Wisconsin, good for the guys to get healthy, get some rest, and get back to the fundamentals. We'll talk all about the team as they look ahead to Maryland here in a little bit. But first, want to get to a few comments. Appreciate everybody watching. Alejandro, Brian Hudson, Josie Peralt, Brian Sherman, Kyle Barr, Chris Mortimer, John Ola, Laura BP, of course, Clyde Boyd III. Any of you watching on YouTube, I appreciate you guys as well. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. And I posted the link to our Twitter page. So if you found us that way, appreciate you. It's at EverythingBN for Buckeye Nation on Twitter. Give us a follow. I tell you what, man, going into last night's rankings, and folks, let me know in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from and what you thought going into last night, because I think that Ohio State's the number one team in the country, and if they're not, they're a very close second. But I went into last night, and I know you disagree with me here. I went in last night thinking, ain't no way they're putting us at 1, maybe at 2, but probably at 3, because they just want their dear sweet Bama LSU top 2 matchup, 1 versus 2 game of the century. They all want to talk about it. I thought for damn sure we'd be slotted number 3. They give us the top spot. I think it's well deserved, but I got to say I was surprised. What'd you think?
But before I go, shout out to Buckeye Eagle on YouTube. He says, "What's up, fellas? OHIO to you, Buckeye Eagle. Shout out to you for watching on YouTube." Like we said before the show, I was confident we would be number 2 or number 1. The reason why, now I know, sometimes I do believe in the experts. Just sometimes, and, I bash them a lot. So I got to give credit when credit is due. There was some of them saying, hey, Ohio State is projected to be number 1 in this poll when it is released. Now, I was like, oh, please, that's not going to happen. I said it will at least be number 2. At least number 2. Number 1, I might be a little shocked, but at least number 2. But, hey, when we came out number 1, I wasn't shocked at all. Now, I've seen some people go, I don't want to be number 1, not already. No. Listen, after this week, we talked about it and we can get into this, we'll be number 2. It's just going to happen. After this week, the people that don't want to be number 1, don't worry. It'll last for a week. We will be number 2. But I'm glad we came out. I'm glad we came out as number 1. It shows that what we've been doing on the field has been noticed. And that's all that I wanted, is that we are getting some respect.
Well, and the cool thing about it was afterwards, when it was released that Ohio State was number 1, there wasn't a whole lot of outrage or anything like that. I think everybody on set was kind of like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it could have been LSU, could have been Ohio State. They go with Ohio State. And it is what it is. So I was glad to see that we weren't getting disrespected on national television, kind of like we have been for a while now, all year. These noon kickoffs are killing me. We'll get to that later too. But few of the comments in here, Clyde Boyd, of course. Mo Junie, OHIO. Tyler Akers, my guy says he's watching from Ironton, Ohio. Tyler, he says he was shocked, actually. I agree. I took a visit with my wife to Ironton in the last year or so. Really cool place. I love the town. That's where 2021 linebacker commit Reed Carico, one of the two. Let me know, Tyler. That's where he hails from in Ironton. And great spot. I went to this really cool sports bar downtown and watched some March Madness, I believe, is what we were doing. But great spot. Kyle Barr says he expected number 2. Chris Mortimer's watching from Florida. Think we're the best team in the nation, but felt the same way. Nate Jones says, surprised by the top 4. I can see why Clemson is 5. If you haven't seen the ratings, I'll go through them here in a moment. But undefeated Clemson, defending national champions, and overall disappointment, ? So far this year. Outside the top 5, they put them at number 5, or outside the top 4, I should say. They put Penn State at 4. Few of the experts, the Bear, if you watch College Game Day, Chris Felica was saying adamantly that Penn State should be in the top 4 because of their resume and strength of record, which is number 2. And they put Penn State at 4. I got to say, putting Penn State at 4 and Clemson at 5, I felt a little bit of conference pride. Is this what the SEC feels like, Corey?
I guess so. I wouldn't know. I don't like the SEC, but hey, we're starting to get some recognition. 2 Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams, top 4.
Hey.
What do you know? Hey,
2 best
I'll
conferences.
take it. The 2 best conferences. At least that's what they say. Buckeye Eagle on YouTube, don't want to leave him out. He said he loves the respect, but he doesn't like being number 1. The past, it's been bad juju when we're ranked as the best. I can see where that's coming from, but like I've said before, Ryan Day just seems like a different type of cat. I could be wrong, but he seems like a different type of cat. He's got these guys' head on straight. It's not going to look past an opponent. Not worried about the rankings. Justin Fields said it doesn't matter to me. That's the right thing to say. I love to hear it. I can see where you're coming from with that comment. We all have those jitters when we're watching the game. I'm going to be honest. I have butterflies too when we step out on that field because it's college football. You slip up one time, night to your season, unless you're Alabama. Then you can do what the hell you want. But other than that, I understand it. But it seems like Ryan Day is just a different type of cat. And he's got these young players head on straight. But like you said, it looks like it's the Big Ten and the SEC and everyone else.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I'll get into a few more of my thoughts on the first initial rankings in a moment. But Josie says she's watching in Fort Campbell, Kentucky here. Josh Robideau. Zachary Wagner says OH. Clyde responds IO. Travis Snapper, Perfect 10 Sports Show, says, I see I got here at a good time. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you. Chris agrees with you. We'll go back to number 2, but then go back to number 1 after the Penn State game, as long as Penn State beats Minnesota this weekend. We'll talk about that as well. Alejandro Lopez says, Georgia number 6. Doesn't sound right. I have that. I put 3 things down as biggest takeaways from the initial playoff rankings, and Georgia at 6 was one of them. I tweeted this last night. If you follow me, Jake Smith, EBN, Everything Buckeye Nation. I don't see how Georgia is the number 6 team in the country. I think that's outrageous.
I love Georgia. Thank you, Georgia. I love you.
Why is that?
Our quarterback. Thank you.
Shit.
Thank you, Georgia. You know what? Thank you very much for your decision. I appreciate it. You are good with me. Whatever you do, good luck to you. Thank you for Justin Fields. Hey, do what you have to do. I see Kerry arguing with people over LSU. They beat 10 top 10 teams. If you can list those for me, I'd want to know. Listen, I try not to argue with people on Twitter and Facebook because they pull out numbers that doesn't even exist. I don't know where that comes from. Yeah, they played Texas and Auburn. I guess they were whatever. We're going to get disrespected. It's fine. And that's good for us, for Chase Young, for Dobbins. Too much sauce is what they like to call themselves. I love it.
I love that too.
Much sauce. Ain't that sweet?
We got to get a nickname for you and I like that, Corey. You guys in the comments come up with a cool 1-2 punch for nickname for me and Corey. Amber Decker tunes in. Hey, Amber, appreciate you. Zachary's in Chillicothe. And Tyler Akers, yes, I did go to End Zone. My wife got some funky BLT pizza. It was like a BLT with pizza instead of bread. I don't know. It was kind of subpar, but pretzel bites were great. Travis Napper, Carrie Lynn. Carrie is arguing, man. Love to see it. Keith McCormick agrees with you, Corey. Ryan Day's got everybody laser focused. Completely agree. Ohio State put out a Twitter video today that says room to improve and everything to prove, something like that. And it's just Coach Day last night addressing the team at practice about how you look yourself in the mirror and you can say, yeah, there are things that I do well. But if everybody has those things that you say, okay, I don't do this as well as I should, whether it's on the field, in the classroom, in the community, you got to go like this. He kind of does a little point to the sky, like raise yourself. That's the cool thing about this thing we call life, is you can improve on anything that you don't think you're good enough at. And every player is just locked in on Ryan Day. Nobody's looking down. I'm like, damn, this man really has taken the structure that Urban Meyer left behind with the recruiting, the strength staff, Mark Pantoni, director of player personnel, and just brought a new dimension of coaching and addressing the team and just that whole family environment. And God, man, there's, like you said, he's just different, man. And I praise our blessings that we have Coach Day at the helm, because he's doing, I had high expectations, but he is absolutely blowing them out of the water, in my opinion.
Yeah, we got a comment from Buckeye Eagle on YouTube. He said, being number one kind of feels like when Mark May would pick the Buckeyes to win a night game. LOL. Carrie Lynn says, Florida's overrated. They have 2 losses. Sit down. She's talking to someone. I don't know who, but get them, Carrie. I agree with you, man. My expectations weren't as high this season because I didn't know what to expect. But that's why I was excited for this season, because I had no clue what to expect from this team. And honestly, I expected us to be good. I didn't go in there saying, well, give us 8 wins and I'll be excited. Who cares? Next year is when I'm ready. No. But I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know. I didn't know anything about Ryan. I didn't know what he was going to do. But now, man, listen. My expectations are through the roof because I know what this team can do. And now that we know where we stand, and like I said, we will be number 2 next week. So don't lose your minds. Don't go crazy. We can beat Maryland 86-0. They could not cross the 40-yard line. It does not matter. We will be number 2 next week because the winner of LSU and Bama will be number 1. It doesn't matter if it's 3-2. They're going to be number 1. And I'm fine with it. Doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
At least we were number 1 week in the playoff. But it doesn't matter where you start. It's where you finish.
Well, it's a good point, man. And I think you're right. We'll be number 2 next week. And it comes at a good time because we'll get a demotion in the rankings as we go travel to play Rutgers. That'll keep the guys at least a little bit more focused. That's going to be a beatdown, man. I mean, we're going to be sitting here next Wednesday laughing our ass off thinking about playing Rutgers on Saturday. Andrew Apke says, hey, guys, you're awesome. Go Bucks. Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate you, man.
You. Appreciate that.
Carrie says, Bama will be excused if they lose. They'll say Tua isn't 100% or their backup isn't that good. She's right. I mean, if Tua comes out on Saturday, he's a game time decision, they say. Don't give me that. They're going to play him. I've heard some rumors, Corey, that said they're not gonna play him because they think they can beat LSU without him, and if they don't, then that's their get out of jail free card. I don't think that's true. I don't buy that for a second. And their get out of jail free card is their name, Alabama. That's all they need. And Ohio State doesn't get that treatment, but Alabama does. So if LSU wins even by 2 touchdowns on Saturday, Alabama's going to fall from 3 to 5?
5 the lowest. 5 the lowest.
It is what it is. Alejandro says Georgia's number 6 because we beat Florida, who's also ranked. They've got a couple decent wins.
Who's we? Who is we with him? I just need to know.
Georgia.
Okay.
Georgia fan. They've got the worst loss by far of any of the one-loss teams. They have beat Florida. They've got Auburn next week, and so we'll really figure out if Georgia's for real or not, which they did beat Notre Dame, but I didn't think Notre Dame was very good, clearly, because the Wolverines stomped them by, 5 or 6 touchdowns. Georgia's got it all in front of them. If they win out, they'll be in the SEC title game and play the winner of LSU-Bama.
Listen. What have I told you about Georgia? I'm not worried about Georgia because when it gets to the end, when it all matters, Georgia's going to do Georgia. It just always happens. It just does. Look what Georgia gave us Fields. Thank you. Thank you.
They didn't want the number 1 overall recruit, highest rated recruit to ever come to Ohio State, who, by the way, is a 6'3", 230-pound quarterback who also, by the way, runs a 4.4. But we'll take him.
I will give Georgia this, man. I want to know what's in the water with them running backs at Georgia. That's what I want to know.
Bro.
I will give them that. There's no hate here with that. My goodness.
I mean, what they had... I mean, it goes back a few years. It's not just like everyone thinks, damn, they had Sony Michel and Nick Chubb at the same time. Like, do you remember Noshawn Moreno?
They had Todd Gurley too.
Yeah, they've been had... I mean, they've been
all
had...
3. They had all 3 of them at once.
Outrageous.
Yeah, I remember Noshawn Moreno. To answer your question, I remember him too. He was a beast.
He was like my favorite back in college football. He was my family computer's screensaver because he hurdled over some guy into the end zone. And I don't know. I was a big fan of his. It was a shame to see his career go south due to injury, but Keith McCormick agrees with me on the video I posted or I mentioned earlier. Brian Sherman says, don't know if you saw my comment. Offensive, this is pretty damn cool. He's watching from Tampa, Florida. Brian Sherman is. He says, Nicholas Petit Ferrer, his mom is a family friend, got me the hookup on one of his tickets to the Ohio State-Penn State game. I'm like a little kid on Christmas Day right now. They're such good people. How about that, man? That's fantastic. You're family friends with an Ohio State big-time recruit. He was the number 1 offensive tackle in the class of 2017. Comes in, he's played some meaningful time for us this year. Going to start at tackle for sure next year. Getting some tickets? Brian, I might be hitting you up, brother. You got the hookup. Alejandro says Georgia versus Ohio State national championship. That'd be good. That'd be great. I'd love to see Fields against the Bulldogs.
Yes.
David Hemphill in here. I see him. What's up with them scheduling Ohio State, Penn State at noon? Should be a primetime game. Man, we had this conversation when it came to Wisconsin, Ohio State, and it's the same situation. Fox makes the times because they've got the game. It's a Fox game, and they want to make it their big noon kickoff game. And they've been killing it with the ratings. Like, I understand from a business perspective why they're doing it, but Ohio State's got to step in. I don't know what they can do, but Gene Smith, Jerry Emig, sports information director, I mean, somebody's got to be able to say, hey, all these noon games are taken away from nighttime atmospheres where A, the crowd is far more into it, and B, the recruits can come see, because if they're still playing on Friday night, which might not be the case, but if they're in the playoffs, in their high school playoffs, they're not going to be able to travel across the country for a noon game. I mean, I understand it from Fox's perspective. Yeah, we get the best ratings at this time slot every week. We put the game of the year in the Big Ten on at noon. Everybody's going to watch it. They're going to have 10 million viewers. Good for them, but that takes away from our home field advantage, I think.
Yeah, it does. I can understand one big time 12 o'clock game, but let's be honest. We're talking about ratings, right? Like the ratings are great at big noon. So you mean to tell me if the game was at 8 o'clock at night, potentially number 2 versus number 4 when they meet,
maybe 3
versus 2 or 2 versus 3, whatever the ranking is, that's not going to get you ratings? Are you freaking kidding me? It probably would get you more ratings if we're going to be honest about it. People love nighttime games. People get drunk at night. People don't get okay. Some people get drunk in the morning, but you get what I'm saying. More people get drunk at night than they do at 10 in the morning. Hello, what do you mean more? Come on now, come on. How about take out the competition? Have you thought about that? If you really want to beat ESPN, put your game on the same time as them. If you had Ohio State and Penn State at 8 o'clock, ESPN is going to be like, oh, crap. Then they're not going to go down to South Dakota. Really? You think they're going to do that then? No. But come on, man. Like, I get it. I understand it. It's your pregame shows at big noon. I understand the logistics of it, but I hate it.
I'm with you, man. It's just, like you said, like Fox is trying to carve out their own niche for the noon kickoff and put their greatest game at noon. Like, that's great. And they've been doing a good job. But there's not another game that weekend that makes it any different. Like, there's no bigger game that you don't want to compete with ratings for. Because you know why? I talked to my people, my friends at the office today. It's Chicken Shit Saturday. It's the second to last week of the season. It's where all the SEC teams, I shouldn't say all because LSU doesn't count in this scenario. All the SEC teams are playing those one-off SLAC Division II teams. Alabama's playing Western Carolina. All right, they played the Citadel last year. Now LSU is at least the way they scheduled, they took their SLAC Division II team and just put it at the beginning of the season in addition to the other SLAC Division II team. So instead of Western Carolina, they're playing Arkansas. It's a conference game, but Arkansas is absolute dumpster juice. So at least it's a conference game. Like last year, we said the same thing about Maryland. Hey, Maryland's not very good, but at least we're playing a conference game instead of the Citadel. And then Maryland took us to, double overtime, and we had to survive off a 2-point conversion?
Yeah.
It was single overtime, but that was you and I's first live broadcast on a game day, like during the game, calling the game. Man, we thought that was going to be so easy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, they're not fighting for – there's not another game that weekend that's like, well, we could watch Ohio State, Penn State, or we could watch this other big game. There's not that other big game. So why do you choose to put it at noon instead of a 3:30 or an 8 o'clock kick? I will never understand, and it's frustrating, man.
I see how my dumpster juice has cotton on there, hasn't it? Hey, I see it's cotton on.
It's relatable.
Hashtag it, y'all. Dumpster juice. Supporters know what that is. Dumpster juice. Chris Lyons in the comments said, Corey, I get drunk on Sundays at 1 or 4:25. LOL. I understand. I'm just saying. Make it an 8 o'clock game. Come on. We all want it. I don't want to get up all super early for this game. Well, I'm going to have to. I have no choice. But 8 o'clock game would be great. Ohio State, Penn State, game of the week. But it is what it is. I guess we'll just have to live with it. We can argue. I can cry to the moon. It's not going to change.
Clyde just hashtag dumpster juice. So
that's right. Everybody know. All the supporters know about that. Y'all know what that dumpster juice is. I just hope you don't know what it tastes like.
If you're not a supporter, I strongly recommend you join the crew. It's over on Facebook, and just get all behind the scenes, couple videos a week from me and Corey, a little bit. We've done them more like they're pretty well done, well put together for a supporter video. Because we were joking a couple weeks ago about I got to go to the DMV. I could just like do a supporter video there in the DMV, like waiting on my license here. But we like to do it pretty well for you. So get over to the Facebook page. You get a little extra Corey rant from time to time, and I'll bring you my thoughts on a Monday or something along those lines. But if you're not, definitely recommend it. And get over to our YouTube page. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow that as well. Really appreciate that.
Speaking of YouTube, we got some comments over here. Ricardo says, "Go Bucks, go Burrow." Buckeye Eagle says Georgia will be loaded at running back for the next 3-4 years. Our guy Big C Got Game says, word number one, LOL. He says, laugh my ass off, dumpster juice. And he said, it's all about the almighty dollar, fellas. Commercial time, I guarantee it's more expensive during that noon kickoff. He makes a very good point there. See, I can admit when people make good points. I can. That is a very good point he made there. Advertising as well probably makes the reason why they make it at 12 o'clock. But guess what? I still don't care. I want it at 8.
I mean, at least give me a 3:30, man. Come on. One home. And here's what really pisses me off about it is that it's probably the biggest Big Ten game of the year. All right? And we're hosting it at noon. I mean, it's going to be cold. It's early. It's going to be cold. And it takes away a little bit from our home field advantage. Now, I guarantee you next year when we have to go at Penn State, it's going to be cold as shit, and it's going to be a night game in a whiteout because that's just how it goes. And I don't think that's fair. I don't.
Yep. It's going to be a whiteout at night. It's going to be misty. It's not going to be raining. It's just going to be misty at night. Night game, and they're going to promote it too. Night game, big night kickoff. They're going to change the promotion and everything just for that game. Reading the comments, Chris said, Corey, please tell me Baker didn't look like that uncle that all the kids would stay away from. Thanksgiving.
Hey man, Baker's looking like Randy Marsh. If you watch South Park, he's got that same mustache, that same hair. I saw somebody Photoshop Randy Marsh's head onto Baker's head at the presser. I about lost it, man. But yeah, he didn't look good. He looked like the dude from Home Alone.
I can't even say nothing, man. I got nothing, man. We're pathetic. What can I say? And Kara's pouring it on. What can I say, man? I got nothing. Like, I can take it. She said, I told Corey the Browns wouldn't do anything this season. He didn't want to listen. What can I say, man? Am I going to get in here and defend right now? Or, hey, if the wind, whatever, man. What can I say? Just got to take it, man.
My guy Nick Zoop says, Penn State's coming to get dunked on too. Let's go. Get wrecked Big Ten. Love that attitude. Amber says, to be honest, I bet Penn State players don't like getting up early either. That's true. Yeah. Cody Masteller's in here now. Says, number one, let's go. And, man, people agreeing with the Randy Marsh and the dude from Home Alone comments in there too. Man, oh man. But I tell you what, man, a couple just back to the playoff rankings here. Just to read them off to you, the top 5: Ohio State at 1. Of course, if you missed that, surprised you're watching the show. But I'm glad to be able to bring that news to you. LSU's at number 2. Alabama's at 3. Penn State, a surprise put at 4. I thought was a surprise. I figured they'd give Clemson the nod since, pardon me, they're the defending national champions. But they went with Penn State instead. They've got the better strength of record, better strength of schedule. All of this is much better than Clemson. And Penn State, if you watched both Penn State and Clemson this year, no doubt in your mind and my mind that Penn State's the better team right now. So I like Penn State at 4, Clemson at 5. Then you've got Georgia at 6. And here's something very interesting to me because I didn't think Georgia should be at 6, but it is what it is. And then you've got Oregon and Utah at 7 and 8. Both of these two teams have one loss, and they're in the Pac-12. If they win out, they'll meet each other in the conference title game, in the Pac-12 championship game, and they'll both be 11 and 1. The winner will be 12 and 1 conference champion, and at that time, they'll probably be up to number 5 or number 6, and that'll be a really interesting tell of do they have a legitimate chance at the playoff, because Oregon, their one loss is to Auburn, who's ranked 11th, and that was on the last play of the game, and it was in week 1. And it was kind of fishy, too. There's some weird stuff going on in that last fourth quarter, but Oregon lost just by a hair in the first game of the season to the number 11 team in the country, and they've rattled off a lot of wins since. If they go unbeaten, who's to say they shouldn't be in the playoff? Conference champion. And they're at 7. Utah's at 8. And then you've got Oklahoma at 9, which tells me that the committee is valuing the Pac-12 over the Big 12, which kind of surprises me, but I agree with that. What do you think about that, Corey?
I'm trying to read a couple comments for you real fast. Yeah. Cheryl Tucker Moore. I know her. Hello, mother. She says is the new word dumpster juice, and she says I'm really impressed with Coach Day. And Big C Got Game says, were you shocked by Clemson being at number 5? I was shocked at Clemson being number 5. I'm not going to sit here and go, you know what? I knew Penn State was going to be number 4 because I am just full of wisdom. No, I was shocked Clemson was going to be number 5. I knew Clemson was going to be number 4, and when that number 5 came out and it was Clemson, I was like, whoa, buddy, what's going on here? But Oklahoma's never impressed me this year. I was not impressed. And then when they lost, I said, good, they're done. Just get them out of here. I don't want to see them again. It's CeeDee Lamb or bust with Jalen Hurts. That's all it is. CeeDee Lamb or bust. One read, I ain't got it, run. I'm not impressed at all. I'm glad they're gone to never be seen again. If somehow they creep back in it, I don't know how they're going to do it. There'll be a lot of losses ahead of them. But to answer the question about Clemson, I was shocked, but I still think they're made. They're really made because the teams ahead of them play each other. They're good to go. All they have to do is win their tough ACC conference game. Oh, my goodness. That's going to be a barn burner, and they're in the top 4. So, to me, out of all the teams that's in the top 5, they have the easiest road.
Bro, I'm with you there. No question about it. And, boy, would I love to get a piece of Clemson this year. Oh, baby. I've got revenge on my mind from the New Year's Eve game where we got shut out in 2016. Obviously, it's going to be a whole lot of different guys. Urban Meyer's not there anymore. The personnel is way different. Deshaun Watson just tore us up. And I love Deshaun Watson. Big Deshaun Watson fan. But we got to beat Clemson, man. They beat us in 2013. They beat us in 2016. Now it's 2019. Let's go. All right. We need a shot at them. And they're prime. This happens. I mean, time is a flat circle, as they say. If you're a defending national champion, there's not a whole lot of drive in your program. You're kind of riding off of almost arrogance and a sense of accomplishment. Because, yeah, they won it all last year, and they beat the piss out of Bama in the title game, 44-16. I tell you what, big Clemson fan that night. I was.
Yeah.
But this year, it's like they have that sense of accomplishment. The complacency is there. They haven't played anybody. They almost lost to North Carolina.
They should have lost it. Go ahead.
They should have lost to North Carolina. They're a bad play call away on a 2-point conversion.
An option. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Moving on. Because I could sit and talk about that play especially for 3 minutes, but I'm not going to. They have that defending national championship mentality where they just do what's enough. They just do what's needed. Ohio State looked the same way in 2015. Florida State looked the same way in 2014 because they won it in 13, and then they still went 12-0 in 2014, but they were barely squeaking out games. Jameis Winston was looking to the NFL, and then they got 62 put on them in the semifinal by Oregon, who we held to 20.
Yeah.
But I digress. All I'm saying is Clemson, if we can get them in the semis matchup, oh, baby, that would be beautiful. And then give me somebody from the SEC in the title game. But first, we got to get through Maryland.
Yeah, got to get through Maryland.
Then we got to get through Rutgers. And then the real season starts. But I tell you, I would love to get a piece at Clemson. They are at number 5. I was surprised about that. Georgia at number 6. I don't think they're the number 6 team. I thought that should have went to Oregon. But they will have their time. Georgia's off this week, pardon me, I believe. And then next week get Auburn. So we'll see there. Number 6 versus number 11. That'll be a good game.
I got a comment on YouTube. Big C says this is how it's going to shape out. He says bank on it. So write this down. He says bank on it. Book it. That's one of those book it statements. He says LSU beats Bama by 3 this weekend. LSU is 1. OSU is 2. Clemson moves to 3. And Bama sneaks in at number 4. That's how it's all going to shape out.
What do you do with Penn State? I mean, are they going to beat Minnesota this week? I'm kind of surprised that they're the number 4 team in the rankings, and they're only favored by 6 going into Minnesota. I tell you what, it's a noon kickoff. Guys are going to be sleepy.
We need Penn State to win this weekend.
It's a high of 35. It's going to be snowy. It's going to be cold.
We have to have Penn State win this weekend. We cannot.
But why? Tell me why.
Because what Wisconsin did to us was trash, okay? I wanted to beat their butt when they were undefeated. Now, it didn't hurt us in the rankings at all, okay? We're still number 1, and I understand it. But for personal glory, I wanted to beat an undefeated team coming into our house and beat the brakes off them. We didn't get that chance. We were robbed by Lovie Smith in Illinois.
And
now come 2 weeks from now when we play Penn State, I want them undefeated coming into the shoe because it's still going to matter when it comes to the rankings. Yes, if we win out, we're in. I get it. But I don't want no doubt about nothing. I don't want anything. I want an undefeated Penn State team. Now, I'm not going to say we're going to beat the brakes off them. But if we happen to look great doing it, you had them in the top 4 in the playoffs. If you beat a top 4 playoff team convincingly, that's it. That's a wrap. I don't want a one-loss Penn State team coming in here. I don't want any of that. Wisconsin ruined that once for us. I don't want Penn State losing any games before they get to us so we can beat them down. We already know the team up north is a rivalry game. They will take that into consideration and say that's always a rivalry game. You never know. That's always a tough opponent. Then the Big Ten title game, which could be Minnesota or Wisconsin again. But if we can beat an undefeated Penn State team and maybe even beat them by 2 scores or more, you can't say nothing about Ohio State now.
I agree with that. I'm a little bit on the opposite side of things. Just because I think if Ohio State, obviously whatever they do, if they win out, they're in. That's fine. To get that number 1 seed, it might take beating a number 3 Penn State by 3 scores in the second to last week of the season while Alabama's playing Western Carolina. But I'm not going to go off on that tangent. As a college football fan, I will say, if Minnesota beats Penn State this weekend, I am not going to be upset. I'll be happy for PJ Fleck. He just signed a 7-year contract extension today. It's not going to be there for 7 years, but the Florida State job opens, and all of a sudden, it's funny, anytime a big-time job opens, every good coach who's not at that level yet is saying, Hey, I got called. Might be time for, I might interview just for that couple $1,000,000 a year pay raise. I respect that. So PJ Fleck just re-signed or extended his deal 7 years at Minnesota. It's not going to happen. But if Minnesota beats Penn State and they beat Wisconsin in the last week of the season, they'll be 12-0. And to play them in a Big Ten championship game, and we're going to beat them by 4 touchdowns, maybe 5. That would look pretty damn good too, but Penn State has the bigger national scale thought, in the hive mind. Everybody thinks Penn State is right on the cusp of elite, and Minnesota is kind of just like a novelty at this point. So I'll see what happens this week. I agree with you. It's far better for Ohio State if Penn State comes in undefeated. I'm just saying I don't care that much if Penn State were to lose and Minnesota wins. I'd enjoy it.
Now, I'm not crying. I'm not going to cry if they lose. Now, don't get me wrong. Oh, they lost. It's over. No, because I know all we got to do is win out and we're good. I was just mad at Wisconsin because I was sick of hearing about Wisconsin, to be honest with you. I was tired of hearing about Jonathan Taylor and this running game and blah, blah. And then you lose to Illinois. Really? Really? And if it wasn't raining, we probably would have beat you 60-3. But
that's what Justin Fields said.
I digress.
We got 15 minutes left. The only other thing I had for the playoff rankings was that 6 Big Ten teams are in. That's always a good look for the conference. And some that are kind of surprising. Before the season, we thought Nebraska would be really good. Maybe Northwestern, probably Michigan State. All 3 of those teams suck. But we do have Penn State in the top 4. Wisconsin comes in at 13. The Wolverines are at 14. Minnesota, Iowa at 17 and 18. So 6 teams in the top 18 is pretty impressive. I'm a little surprised at Minnesota only being 17th as an 8-0 program. But their strength of schedule so far, like their strength of record, is like 82nd or something. Like their strength of schedule to this point, they've played nobody. And they've had close games. So, you can't look at them on par with the other unbeatens. But they've got a hell of a shot this week. They host Penn State at noon, which is going to be an 11 a.m. local time game. It's going to be cold as shit. And it's going to be snowy. And it's going to be ugly. Penn State's favored by 6. This strikes me as like a 27-17 type of game, something low scoring, defensive battle. Penn State's got a hell of a defense. That's what people forget. Everybody wants to talk about, Trace McSorley's gone. I don't think Sean Clifford's that good. Saquon Barkley obviously is long gone. So is Miles Sanders from last year. But I'm impressed with their offense so far. Sean Clifford's done a good job at quarterback. Noah Cain should be getting all the snaps at running back for Penn State. But their defense is the truth, man. And we'll find out this Saturday what they're really made of. I mean, Penn State could win that game by 3 scores, and I couldn't say I'd be surprised. What about you? What are you thinking about that game?
I just want Penn State to win. Like I said, I haven't even had Minnesota on my radar. I am going to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and go, I was looking at some Minnesota film. Nah, they ain't even been on my radar, all right? Not at all. But I will be, I'll be tuning in, see what they look like now. We're getting closer. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I was watching some Minnesota video. And no, they ain't even been on my radar. That could be disrespectful. But I want Penn State to win, like I said, because for selfish reasons. I am selfish. I will admit it. And petty. All right? Selfish and petty. I want them undefeated. Going against us, they're a bigger name, and I want to beat them when they have no wins and send them crying home. That is my goal. That's my goal. And there was a good question on here I wanted to get Los Dos. I think it was Los Dos who asked, was Justin Fields 100%? Because he had a little ouchie back.
Is he or was he?
Is he?
Well, I think so. It looked like just a little bit of a hit pointer or so. Like he just kind of landed funky on that touchdown run. And then he did land on the same spot on a spin move on a run a little bit later in the game. The good news is I don't need him at 90, 80, 70% to beat Maryland, okay? Here over the next 2 weeks, he's had an extra week of rehab and like to a point rest. You know, there's kind of this thought during bye weeks that like they don't do anything, you know, they'll have some practices, blah blah blah, but like it's a lot. And what Ryan Day and Jeff Hafley were talking about all last week and a little bit into this week were going back to the fundamentals, cleaning up everything else, just the little things, because obviously our scheme is working, everything we're doing is working. But if we go back and assess and closely fine-tune the fundamentals with one step here or one step there or one extra move here or there, like that could be the difference in this team. And so I'm really happy to hear that. Like they were working over the bye week. There's no doubt about it because they know they've got Maryland this week, who they're 44-point favorites, by the way. I'm going to switch the scene here with about 10 minutes left to talk about Maryland. The Buckeyes are 44-point favorites, okay? They're not going to play Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, the majority of the starters halfway through the third quarter. Okay, this game I think will come out a little slow coming off the bye week. I think that's fairly normal, come out a little slow, especially with the number one ranking. You're thinking, okay, there's not as much juice for this game. Ryan Day has proved me wrong all year so far, and like to where that's not going to be an issue. I think Ohio State comes out, they start Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins in the third quarter, and the starters, and they score a touchdown, and then it's like 42-7 or 38-7, and that's when they take those guys out. And then the following week at Rutgers, I'm not sure they'll play the whole first half. This is a different Rutgers team in a bad way. Like, Rutgers is bad in the punchline of a lot of jokes. This is completely different. They are going to get absolutely steamrolled. The spread is going to be like 53, which is unheard of. I mean, 44 this week is like the highest spread Ohio State's ever had. And next week against Rutgers, I don't think Justin Fields plays a full half. By the time we lace them up at noon for some reason against Penn State, 2 weeks from Saturday, Fields will be 100%, and that's all I care about at this point.
Oh, two comments I wanted to get to. Over on YouTube, Big C said, we're funny. He said noon kickoff. He said, for me out here in Vegas, that's 9 a.m., so I just got to roll out the bed and turn on my TV. Whoa, buddy. And that's deep right there.
Yep.
And Chris Lyons, my guy on Facebook, says, remember that Maryland hype train for the first 2 weeks? How that train quickly derailed. Yeah, they were hyping up Maryland big time at the beginning of the season. Woo! Look at that offense.
They were ranked.
Yeah. Woo!
They put them at 21.
Yeah. But I agree with you. When it comes to this Maryland game, and I know I've said it all year, he's got these boys tightened up. This is going to show me more than the Wisconsin game. Oh, my God. How could you say that, Corey? Wisconsin is good. They got Jonathan Taylor. They went to the Big Ten title game more times than you can count. Well, coming off a bye week, Maryland absolutely stinks. Stinks. You have every reason to come out here and take Maryland like me and Jake does. You have every reason to win this game 27-13. You do. Every reason. You just got named number one off a bye week playing old poor Maryland. This game will tell me a lot more than Wisconsin. Because everybody know you was going to come out to Wisconsin and just punch them in the face. Because you were tired of hearing about Jonathan Taylor. J.K. Dobbins wanted to prove to everybody he was better than Jonathan Taylor. Chase Young wanted the world to know I am the best player in college football.
They both did. They both did, by the way.
Exactly. Right. Watch me throw your quarterback around like a rag doll.
Mm.
Now, this game right here could be one of those games where we're number one, watch this, which I do not think will happen. But this game, to me, will prove more than Wisconsin because, like you said, we should see the backups a lot.
Well, and Ryan Day said something in his press conference yesterday that I thought was very interesting because they asked him about the college football playoff rankings coming out. And Urban Meyer would always kind of note like he's aware of them, but it doesn't really matter at this point in the season. Ryan Day was very, very strict with his response. He was like, I don't care. I seriously do not care one bit. I'm not gonna watch them. I don't care where they put, because if we lose this weekend, we're out. And that's all I care about. We've done that in the past couple years, is lose to teams we shouldn't have lost to, and that's kept us out. And I'm like, damn. And then somebody asked him, like, come on, you're not a little bit curious? And he's like, no, I don't. I honestly don't care, because I know if we take care of our business and we win this week and we take next week at a time, 1 week at a time, and we win and we take care of our business, everything's in front of us. We'll have a chance. But right now, it doesn't matter one bit. And I'm like, damn, Coach Day, and he's spot on. He really is. Yeah. I mean, obviously he's aware that his team is ranked number one in the initial rankings. There's no doubt about it. Every player on that team is aware, because I guarantee you he addressed it last night after it happened, or first thing this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, look, that's all fine and dandy. And that's a testament. That's another thing he said. He's like, look, he said, quote, you're relevant in November. And that is a huge accomplishment. And you should be proud of that. But now we shift our focus to the last 4 weeks of the regular season. And if you slip up once, that's it, man. You're done.
And so he has the right.
Go ahead.
He has the right attitude. Like Chris just put in the comments, do not take Maryland lightly. Remember Purdue. And he's not. He has the perfect attitude towards it. Now, me and you come here all day and go, oh, it's Maryland, because we ain't playing. We're not going on that field. But Ryan Day's having none of it. And that's why I said, man, this cat's wired differently. And for some reason, I'm just sitting here like, man, I get nervous for every game. Not going to lie. But it's not that kind of nervous. Like when you just go in there and you're like, oh, boy, one of those. He's just wired differently. Until I'm proven wrong, this cat just got this team wired differently. And I love it.
It's exciting times, man. We talked a little bit about it at the beginning of the show, but Ryan Day has somehow improved on the program. Now that Urban Meyer's gone, you take a 3-time national championship winning coach out of the program and a quarterback who throws for 50 or who scores 50 touchdowns and is a Heisman contender, first round pick, and they both leave, and now you're set with a first-time head coach and a first-time starter at quarterback. If that happened to any other school, I'd be thinking, oh, they're not going to be nearly as good. And so that's what I tried to tell myself before the season. Like, well, this rarely ever works out for any other school, so I probably shouldn't get my hopes too high. But now it's like everything that Urban wasn't elite at, Ryan Day is. But the previous structure is still there. This team, man, it's just something else. And you're right. I'm with you. We're going to see what this team's made of on the first drive of this Maryland game. Because they could come out all easy, lackadaisical. It's Maryland. We're favored by 44, which is outrageous, by the way.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is.
They could just come out and kind of go loosey-goosey through it.
You know what? The first drive, I wouldn't even be shocked if we punt. I wouldn't. It's the second drive I would be shocked, because that's when he adjusts everything. All right, that didn't work. Touchdown. What? But
probably to Chris Olave.
And I forget who said this in the comments before we head out of here. Lozado said he's coached like he has something to prove. And I think our 4 best players, that is what makes this team great. Well, player and coach. Chase Young, J.K. Dobbins, Coach Day, and Justin Fields. They all have a chip on their shoulder to me. Coach Day's like, oh, everybody disrespecting me because I ain't Urban Meyer? Watch this.
Boom.
Justin Fields like, oh, just because I transferred, y'all want to say something to me? Oh, okay. Dwayne Haskins was that great? That's my homie and all, but watch this. J.K. Dobbins is like, oh, everybody just thinks I'm not the greatest running back. I sucked last year to my standards. Watch this. And Chase Young just wants to be the best defender in the entire nation. Nick Bosa wants to leave. Oh, Nick Bosa, all the Bosas. No, watch this. And that's another reason why I think they play the way they do.
Something special about a chip on your shoulder, man. It's a little different. And you can see it with these guys. That's the thing. It's like our attitude the past couple years, I don't think had that killer instinct. Really, since we won the national championship, we haven't had that killer instinct, I don't think. But this year, man, whoo, something else. Offensively and defensively. So, Let's get to our score predictions, our bold predictions. Appreciate everybody in the comments section here. I missed a lot, but Corey backed me up on a few. Connie Willison, appreciate you. Sam Frank, and of course Los Dos, Carrie Lynn, Chris Lyons, David Hemphill. Wes Maggs says Day is a mastermind. I hope he makes Urban look bad. Hey, I hope he does too, but I'll still love Urban Meyer, I'll tell you that much. So let's get into our predictions here, okay? Ohio State is favored by 44. This is a home game. It is a noon game. It's coming off of a bye week. So how are they going to come out? I wouldn't, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if they punted on the first series. But it's hard for me to go away from Ohio State covering the spread because they have every game so far except for FAU. Which, by the way, and we'll get into this more in later weeks, Justin Fields' career high in passing is against FAU in week 1, only 234 yards. He hasn't passed for more than 234 yards in any game since then. That's going to come up, whether it's Penn State, the Wolverines, Big Ten title game, the playoffs. If we get there, I'm still saying if we get there, we should, but if we do, his arm's going to have to come into play, but not this week, all right? It's a 44-point spread. I think that's fair. You got a score prediction, bold prediction, any stats for us, Corey?
Before I get to that, I got a comment on YouTube. Cheryl Tucker Moore says, going back to Ohio State, she hopes they never take a game too lightly. They can lose any given time. They need to play every game like it's their championship game.
I love it.
Love it. Score prediction, the spread is 44. We're going against Maryland, the team that gave me and you a heart attack last year.
Rough.
I don't want to disrespect Maryland at all, but I like our hopes here. So I'm going to go Ohio State 56, Maryland 3.
I'm going to keep it a little bit closer. I'm going to say Ohio, but right there, it's the same point differential. I got Ohio State 52-7. I just think Ohio State's, I think they'll start off slow. You might remember when we put up 52 against Northwestern, we only had 7 points in the first quarter. It doesn't have to all come in the first quarter. I think we might start off a little slow, explode in the second quarter, score a touchdown to start the third quarter, and then give the backups a shot, because guess what? Our backups, far better than Maryland starters. And by then, they might have their backups in too. So I like that matchup. What about a player of the game or any stats you got, Corey? I'll let you go first this time and next week, because you've stolen mine the last 2 weeks. But in games like this, I'll come up with something else on the fly.
In limited play and in limited time, Chase Young going for his Heisman Trophy, the first since Charles Woodson on the defense side of the ball, will have 3 sacks and 5 total tackles in 1 half of play.
Very doable. Let us know in the comments section. Give me your bold predictions, score predictions. I want to hear them. A lot of 56 to 14, 64 to 12, 58 to 10, 56 7, 50 to 10, 56 3. Amber Decker says 80 to nothing. That might be next week against Rutgers. I mean, next week against Rutgers literally could be like 77 to 0. It's going to be just awful, disturbing, really. But against the Terrapins this week, I like the Buckeyes. What did I say? 52 to 7.
Yep.
I guess I gave it I said same score, but or same difference, but that's not right. But 52 to 7, I think. It's fun, because these games are always, how much do the backups play? Anytime you and I predict a backup, it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. But, not necessarily. I can't pick Fields. I can't pick Dobbins. I can't pick a receiver. I tell you what, I will pick a receiver. I'll go with Garrett Wilson. True freshman Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, my guy.
Yes, your guy. Your guy, Garrett Wilson. He's going to have himself 2 tutties on the day, and one of them might come off of a punt return.
Uh-oh.
I'm saying might because this is life or death, apparently.
Okay.
But I think he's cemented himself over DeMario McCall as the punt returner. He's got to be. McCall made things too crazy against Wisconsin, had a couple scares, and then on Garrett Wilson's one and only opportunity, takes it 23 yards. Come on. We don't need Dontre Wilson back there screwing things up. All right? Give the man some extra playing time. And he might get it on kickoff, too. Because McCall dropped the kickoff in the game last year. I know we didn't forget that. I never will. Garrett Wilson. Look out. And his fellow wide receiver, Jamison Williams, could make some plays, too. Because that man is a burner. And just like Chris Olave came on late last year, Jamison Williams can do the exact same thing this year. And boy, there's a reason he was compared to Ted Ginn in the recruiting process. That man can fly. Fastest guy on the team, I'd say. And he's a true freshman at wide receiver. I like the sound of that.
Yes, sir.
Couple comments here before we wrap up. David Campbell says, Garrett Wilson, exciting to watch. Amber Decker says, I rolled my score and bold prediction into one combo. See if I can find it here. Perhaps not. So many score predictions. She said, well, now I've gone too far. She said, Okuda's taking it to the house this weekend. I like that. Jeff Okuda.
She said 80 to nothing. That was her score.
Oh, God, that's right. Whew, it could happen. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee it, but it could happen. So we'll be back next week for sure with a live show, probably similar to this on a Tuesday night after the rankings come out, or Wednesday recapping and looking ahead to the Rutgers game. Everyone's excited about that. We'll bring you some supporters videos. Until then, subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, everything Buckeye Nation. Like and share the page. This whole thing is run by you guys, so we really appreciate you, the supporters especially. That's all I got. Corey, you got anything else?
That's it, man. Just watch some football. Enjoy the Buckeyes. And if your pro team is doing good, good for you, because mine stinks. But we'll get into that in a later time.
It's not over. It's not over just yet. But
let's have some fun.
I said last week was a must-win. Oh. This week certainly is for the Browns. And the Bengals should just lose every game they play for the rest of the year and then draft Chase Young. But that's enough for this episode of Everything Buckeye Nation. Appreciate you all tuning in. That's Corey Boyd. I'm Jake Smith. Big shout-out Producer G getting us all set up here, of course, as always. But that's all I got. Okay? Go Bucks. OH.
I-O. Yeah.
See you after the big Maryland game